I'm Mary Guinan. I'm the president right now, but in a few minutes I will not be. And this is a ceremony in which we pass the gavel. This is the gavel. I only saw it twice, last year and today. But the gavel, this is the ceremony, the passing of the gavel to the president, and also it's an AMWA tradition to give, for the president to give the incoming president the AMWA medal. It's a gold medal. So, Gayatri, would you please come up to the, are you here? Here she is, she's hiding.
First, I want to thank Mary Guinan and for being a wonderful AMWA president all of this year and last. And it's really a pleasure and a privilege. And the truth was, I wanted my speech to be about 4 minutes or under. And I was told I had to make a 10-minute speech. So I've compromised, it's 8 minutes flat. So we'll try to keep it to that. Because we know we're all here to hear Gloria. She's coming up next. Recently, I read in the New York Times about Valentina, a young Romanian mother of 2, who left with her boyfriend, a man she thought was her boyfriend, to find work to support her family. As they crossed the border into Spain, her boyfriend morphed into the pimp that he was and began selling her on the streets, $40 for intercourse, $27 for oral sex. When she tried to leave, he beat her, and he threatened to kill her children. So she stayed. Another woman escaped her abductors to call her family in Colombia, only to be told that if she returned, her younger sister would be sent in her stead. She crept back to her hell. There is an exploding bright spot in the economic doldrums of the world, the global trafficking of young girls and women. Women are commodities in this market, traded like cattle. What better describes a commodity, an item for sale, than a barcode with a price below it? A 19-year-old had just that. Tattooed onto her wrist was both a barcode and the debt she still owed, about $2,400. Now, to some folk, Valentina and this young girl might be whores and sluts. Heck, to some folk, a law student testifying in Congress about the need for access to contraception is a slut and a whore. But to me, Valentina and other young girls and women caught in the web of sexual trafficking are working women, much like I am, like all of us here are, trying to care for themselves and those they love the best way they can. To me, these women are heroes and inspirations, the victims of economic impoverishment and a testament to the power of love and duty. Women physicians are victims of economic inequities as well, with a gap in pay between male and female physicians rising even as the proportion of women physicians increase. Women find it hard to negotiate, particularly about money. It somehow doesn't seem nice to ask for a salary commensurate with what we are worth. And sometimes we lower what we are worth so we can dip down to the level of our compensation just so we can be nice. This is, of course, particularly ironic given the many studies that have shown that better pay for women reaps far more rewards for communities than similar enrichment for men, who are less inclined to invest in family and community-centric activities. For anything to succeed consistently over time, there have to be structures in place that allow it to be so. How did we get to this place, to this time, in this country? Women's health and women's rights have not been priorities, the priorities that they should be, even at the top levels, with governments and corporations backing pimps. Take the case of sex trafficking. In the United States, adult ads are mostly posted on back pages. Back page advertising was responsible for the many men that flocked to an empty apartment in Queens, New York last month, where a 15-year-old girl was sold by her abductors over the course of 2 weeks before she escaped. Who backs back pages? Village Media, Village Voice Media, which publishes Village Voice. Who has a 17% stake in Village Voice Media? Goldman Sachs. Who bailed out Goldman Sachs? Our government. The road from the anguished screams of a young girl led directly to our policymakers via hushed, plushly carpeted corporate boardrooms. While economics dictates some of our inequity, another kind of money in the bank also needs to be addressed. Maternity leave is now a given, and yet the part-time mommy track, either in academia or in practice, is frowned upon. Even when it is accepted, the ambitions of some women who desire careers, as it keeps them at home during it thwarts the ambitions of some women who desire careers, as it keeps them at home during professionally critical times. What can such women do? Do they forgo motherhood altogether? Or do they wait into their 40s when their career is stable and begin the economically and emotionally depleting process that is IVF or in vitro fertilization? My mentor, Marianne Legato, is a prominent New York cardiologist and academic who wanted to have it all. And she wanted to have it all 45 years ago. She went into labor at 6 a.m. on a Friday morning, the same Friday morning that she had to give an important talk as a fellow in training. Her talk was scheduled for 9 a.m. She decided to give the talk and then leave. As she tottered back to her seat after her talk, she was asked to stay to the end of the day to answer questions. Did she stay? Of course she did. She finally left in the evening, going directly to the hospital where she gave birth a few hours later, early on Saturday morning. Needless to say, she was back at work on Monday. A young mother, she wrote papers while her daughter played under her desk. "You neglected me when I was little," her daughter has said to her. "Don't you remember?" Marianne replied. "You always played under my desk." "Yes," her daughter responded. "You were the one who taught me to play solitaire." That just broke my heart, Marianne recalls. Is there another option? Here was Marianne, a devotee at the temple of academia, where being part-time, while an option, was not an option that she wanted. She wanted to be a full-time mom and a full-time academic. How can one do that? I have a radical answer, somewhat controversial. Be forewarned. But one way to keep choices as a woman physician who finds the part-time or the nanny option less appealing. Freeze your eggs, medical students. This biological money in the bank is another type of power. It affords us the opportunity to, should one desire, rear your genetic own later in life than biologically possible. Obviously, this is not an ideal solution, but it is one solution to the dilemma that plagues many young, career-oriented women. the stressful tick-tock of the biological clock. Yes, it is possible to have it all, but maybe not all at the same time. Men cannot be adversaries in our struggle. They have to be trained to be allies. And many of them, including some of my mentors, already come with this innate sense of justice for humankind, because justice for women is justice for humankind. Corporate policy and government policy should create frameworks within which women's needs are prioritized as human needs. The idea of contraception and abortion as issues that are still being left to be decided at the government level, rather than as a prerogative of the woman whose body it is anathema. How, you may be asking, can AMWA help with all of this? We can help by mentoring ourselves and our students so that we can negotiate for fair and appropriate compensation for our toils. We can be honest about our own struggles to other women, as so many of our speakers so generously have this weekend. One of the most amazing visions of today was being able to see a very capable chairman of a department who's at the forefront of research in her field, from an elite institution, rocking it in her high heels and her short black dress. I will forever be enriched by this superb image, priceless money in my memory bank. Sharing our stories help us feel connected and more powerful. We can use position papers speaking to the issues we value. We can use the power of our organization to advocate against the global trafficking of girls and women as sex slaves. We have done what is right. We have done what is right for women for nearly 100 years. It is my fondest hope that gender equality, and by that I mean equality of human beings, will have been achieved far before the next 100 years are over. In closing, I'd like to thank my greatest mentor and my best friend, the young woman I've learned a lot from, whose wisdom and resilience I find unparalleled. My daughter Ginny is money in my bank, along with the joy of being a physician with the most wonderful patients in the world. Thank you for electing me AMWA president. I'm deeply honored and delighted to work with all of you towards achieving these goals and more.